Hey, all forensics kids! This is our one of our last videos of the school year. This is for our last 2 weeks here. I'm gonna go over our final project that is due June 12th. For you seniors, it's due June 5th. So please be aware of that. That's this Friday. So seniors, if you have any issues getting through that, let me know. I can definitely help you out. But we're gonna go through this. You kind of have two options here, depending on what path you go down for your main dish, it's called. You can choose a famous crime, a famous murder, or you can kind of make one up. But the problem is, if you make one up, you got to make sure it's accurate scientifically. And that'll make more sense once I get through this. So go through this video. I'm going to try to make it as short as possible, but it is a project, so it's going to be longer than our other videos. But pretty much you're choosing a famous crime or making one up and going through an autopsy and what it tells you. Okay, so here's the appetizer. Here's the first part. A press release related to your story. So super background information, 1 to 2 paragraphs, what's going on. So if it's a famous crime, like imagine it hit the newspapers. You're the newspaper writer. What would you say? Who, what, where, when kind of thing. Okay. Your main dish, you're going to pick one of these three options. Now, whichever option you choose is going to it's going to alter if you pick a famous person or make one up. So just be aware of that. Just look through the options. But here are the directions. Each main dish includes this scenario. You are a medical examiner and you must come up with a story of an autopsy you are completing. Within your story, you must share how you know what killed the person based on all the information you collect over the past 6 weeks, each of your benchmarks. So if you're creating a story, create a story of a guy that was shot or stabbed, I don't know, or got in a car accident, whatever. You're going to be going through a fake autopsy and explaining what organ systems were hit, like respiratory, cardiovascular, lung, like how did this person die, like the blood and stuff like that. So option one is a PowerPoint, which I think most of you are going to choose, but it must include the following: title slide, background story related to your autopsy, which you kind of already did up here, so be aware of that, so you can use that. Slide 3, use the 7 S's tied to your autopsy. Sorry, there's a typo right here. Get rid of that. Tied to your autopsy. Sorry, it's been annoying me. What did they find in the investigation? So I put a link to the 7 S's and what they really are. We talked about them really briefly at the beginning of the year, so just be aware of that. But how did these 7 S's really help the crime? And when you look at the 7 S's, it'll make sense. Slide 4, autopsy analysis. So that's where you go through the autopsy procedure of, we did it in class, remember. We did the external examination. We did the internal examination with the Y incision, stuff like that. So you want to look at what you found, quote unquote, what you found. You're going through this. If you made up the story, you're making that up as well. If it's a famous one, you got to be pretty accurate. So if it's Biggie Smalls who was shot and the bullet went from his hip all the way up to his chest, you got to show that. You got to explain what organs were hit and things like that. Conclusion slide, summary of findings. So once again, just wrapping everything up. And any work you cited, if you got information from one of the articles, you're going to do that. Option 2, preferred for those that would know internet. If you are more of an artist person, like drawing, choose this one. If you have internet, it's fine. Okay, I'm okay with you doing this one. But you're making a wanted poster. So you want the name of the case being investigated, so what's going on, cause of the victim's death, so car crash, knife, or killing, murder, stab, shot, whatever. What is the background story? So once again, if you're choosing a famous person, you got to research. If you're making one up, make sure the background story connects to the actual science. You can't say a person was strangled to death, but then they got shot in the heart. Like, that doesn't make sense. What systems can be used to diagnose the crime from your autopsy? So, like, when you do the autopsy, what systems should be affected based on the crime, or based on the crime or the injuries? Date of crime, time of crime. Try your best with that one if you don't have all the information. Outcome of the case currently, and why is it, what happened, kind of thing. And then once again, citations, any websites you used. Number 3, I know a couple people are doing this one, which is awesome. I know not everybody's going to do it, but it's pretty cool. So you're doing like a behind the scenes of an autopsy, like what goes on. So you need a title and introduction. You need the background story related to your autopsy. So once again, famous crime or one you made up. Use of the 7 S's tied to your autopsy. What did they find in the investigation? So the 7 S's are how you go through an investigation. What did they find? Autopsy analysis, once again, go through the external, internal, the brain, things like that. What body systems were involved? How do you know? So the lungs, the heart, the kidneys, whatever. Go on like that. Conclusion slide, summary of findings, and then credits your works cited. Side dishes. Both of these are required. Number 1, create a Venn diagram comparing and contrasting the role of the respiratory system and the role of the cardiovascular system in the body. Add depth and detail about the primary roles, organs, and how they work. So you're looking at 2 different systems, respiratory and cardiovascular, which a lot of people confuse. Okay, respiratory is lungs and breathing. Cardiovascular kind of combines lungs and heart. It's oxygen. Okay, so that's a hint. All right. Number 2, gather 2 blood spatters, analyze their images, and explain how they are similar or different from one another. What can you infer from each image? So if you just want to go to Google and find 2 blood spatters and analyze those, that's fine. But if you want to make some too, if you have like red food dye and like do some drops on a piece of paper, great, cool. But the big thing is how you actually analyze them. So when you look at 2 pictures, how can you tell what direction it was traveling? How can you tell how fast it was traveling? Was it going slow like a knife wound, or was it going fast like a gunshot wound? How can you tell? Can you tell? Yes, you can. So you want to look back at that benchmark. Okay, so you can choose 2 pictures, or you can make them if you really want. Finally, discuss and explain a realistic solution to keeping one body system healthy, or about how to be safe, aware of your surroundings. Share your findings by creating a public service announcement. So, and those are The More You Know and Truth.com are public service announcement websites. But you want to choose a system. I'm going to choose the lungs. And how can I keep it healthy? So, like, not smoking, like how does smoking impact the lungs? Secondhand smoke, harsh chemicals or pollution, something like that. So for you people that are also in bio, take a look at the project we're doing there. But choose a system, and like how can you keep cardiovascular, or the heart, or the circulatory system, like exercise, blood pressure, things like that. So that's just a little quick, easy, create a little poster, create a little jingle, slogan of like how can you keep that system healthy, what can you do to not damage it. So I hope that helps. It is a bigger project. Once again, seniors, it's due Friday. If you're stressing about it, let me know. We can be flexible. Everybody else, it's due next Friday, June 12th. But if you have any questions, let me know, and I can gladly help you guys out. I'll talk to you soon, everybody.